Welcome back. Now, Namibia's indigenous languages play a vital role in shaping cultural identity, yet many are under increasing pressure from modern linguistic trends and social change. Khoekhoegowab, one of the country's deeply rooted languages, is now finding renewed space in education through creative and youth-focused initiatives. As conversations about heritage, language rights, and education grow louder, it is crucial to understand the cultural and developmental value of indigenous languages promotions. We're now joined in studio by Mauricius Gariseb, who is the chairperson of the Khoekhoegowab Cultural and Linguistic Society, as well as Robyn Gaingos, who is leading the coordination efforts for a youth-centered language project, and that is basically the Khoekhoegowab Cultural Linguistic Society. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you too.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Perhaps if we can start with you, Mauritius. Namibia is home to a rich tapestry of languages. From your perspective, why is the preservation and promotion of Khoekhoegowab so important for cultural identity and also heritage?
Right. So firstly, I think language preservation is so much important because we are speaking of cultural identity. We are speaking of who you are as an individual and what shapes you into this from younger stage to the adulthood stage as who you are. So I think with regards to the importance, it's very much important, especially for us, the younger generations. In urban areas like Windhoek, it's very much important because these indigenous languages embody the soul of cultural identity and shared memory. Because these indigenous languages, or rather the mother tongue natives, they are not just mere communication tools. They act as bridges between past, present, and future that holds rich stories, they hold proverbs, they hold values, and they hold shared memories, right, that we can carry on from one another, from one person to another. And that's why I think it's very much important that we remain connected to these languages, that we remain, that we gather efforts to preserve the languages like the Khoekhoegowab.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that you're the chairperson of the Khoekhoegowab Cultural and Linguistic Society. Talk to us about the society, some of the aims and the missions and the visions of the society.
Right. So the Khoekhoegowab Cultural and Linguistic Society, we are now operating 3 years. This is the third year that we are in operation, right? So it has been founded in 2022. I'm one of the founders of this society, and not just the first time, but the third time running as chairperson of the society. So it has been founded with the aims of creating visibility, creating awareness, and promoting the Khoekhoegowab language, as well as the appreciation of the language within our educational settings, within our societal settings, right? So we aim to create visibility. We want to promote the language. We know the current conversation is that the Khoekhoegowab language, although it being an indigenous language and part of the African community, is somehow dying out because we are not putting in efforts to preserve this language.
Yeah.
And that's why we have started the society at university main campus level.
All right.
Yes.
Let's talk to you, Robyn. You are the leading coordination efforts for a youth-centered project. Now, kindly just talk to us as to what this entire project entails.
Thank you for having us, firstly. The aims of the spelling bee competition is to create awareness about the language, first of all, and create a platform where teachers and community members can get together and appreciate the language, as well as to develop a deeper vocabulary for the learners.
All right. So you mentioned the spelling bee.
Yes.
Does that also include spelling the clicks?
Yes, it
Of
does.
course.
All right. So you just identify which click it is, or do you have to sound it out?
You have to sound it. So when you get the word
And
right.
there are 5 clicks, right?
Yes, there
Okay.
are 5. Should I pronounce them?
Yes, please.
Oh, there are 4. Yes, there are 4 clicks.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So when you get your word, and say for instance the word is then you would pronounce it as KH or so you'd sound it out letter by letter, click by click.
All right. So what are some of the creative approaches you're using for this entire initiative? Anything to make it fun? Talk to us about that, Robyn.
We are going to have different cultural performances. The Khoekhoegowab Culture and Linguistic Society is not just for the Nama community, but for the Nama, Tamara, and Hengom United as well community. So we will have performances from all the cultures.
Yeah. Mauricius, talk to us about some of the Khoekhoegowab Cultural and Linguistic Society challenges that you've perhaps noticed in this day, age, and era. I mean, earlier on, you mentioned that not enough effort is being put in, not just to preserve the language, but what other challenges have you perhaps noticed or come across?
I think with ourselves, and I'd like to put it as that, please don't come from younger generations, but with us, the younger generations, there is a lack of interest to further this language into profession, to want to communicate, use this language in our social settings. You know, urbanization, globalization, and the dominance of colonial languages actually tend to put this language in background. So I think lack of interest, if we're not showing any interest, any engagement, any participation into this language, it will ultimately die out. So lack of interest is one of the challenges that we are facing. The youth that are not taking the language into profession is another challenge that we are also facing. And I think in terms of urbanization, we tend to forget our cultural roots, we tend to forget our linguistic excellence of this language. That is the challenges that we're facing.
Yeah. How do you think we can address some of these challenges, Robyn?
Like initiatives like the Khoekhoegowab spelling bee competitions, creating opportunities for the youth to use the language in a purposeful way. Not just, when we hear that we should study the language, all we think about is education as the only opportunity that is created by having indigenous languages. But there are other professions. In every sector, we need someone that knows the language so that people can become more comfortable. When you see, when you enter a room and then you hear someone speaking your language, it creates an air of calmness within you, And not just that, but we need poets and authors in our language, someone that can integrate our language into the modern world, create shows or television programs for kids to learn the language at an early age. We know the influence that television or the technology has on our youth. So we just have to, divert that in a positive way.
Mauricius, some may argue that English as a global language is enough. How do you respond to those who question the need for promoting indigenous languages in schools and also just in the communities?
Could you please repeat the question?
Many people might argue that English as a global language is enough, but how would you respond to those who question the need for promoting indigenous languages in schools and also just in the communities?
I think any person would tell you this. Your language, your native tongue is part of your identity. It's part of who you are. And I'd like to quote what Mr. Gideon Kapuka once said. When once a language dies, self-identity is lost, self-worth vanishes, and immediately identity dies there. And I think this emphasizes the integral part of the fact that language is part of who we are. So I think promoting these indigenous languages, promoting your native tongue is part of, it creates a sense of belonging. It connects you on a deeper level to your community, because I've always been a firm believer of culture is the heartbeat of a society, and language is the foundation upon which identity is built, and therefore pride and belonging forms integral parts of these aspects. And so I think we have to create initiatives like we're doing with the Khoekhoegowab Spelling Bee, and not just the Khoekhoegowab Spelling Bee, but also some other events that aim to revitalize our indigenous languages. So we have to create these initiatives to actually promote and take our indigenous languages further.
Yeah.
Yes.
With regards to the spelling bee, how did the youth receive it? Are they excited? Talk to us. Give us all the details about the spelling bee.
Yes, we have received quite a positive feedback from the students as well as outside members of the community. You know, we published the competition and we received sponsors and everything. So I think that the response is quite positive and the youth is excited.
Yes, so when is the spelling bee?
On the 5th of September.
Could I add on it?
Yes, yes, please.
So with this initiative, we aim to promote the correct usage and appreciation of the Khoekhoegowab language within our society, within the educational system. We aim to create a platform where school learners showcase their vocabulary, grammar, and spelling excellence, right? So we've invited Windhoek, Rehoboth, and Grotto-based secondary schools offering the Khoekhoegowab language in grade 11. But we've made an exception because since grade 11 learners are writing mock exams, we've made an exception to also include grade 10s, seeing that their curriculums, it's a 2-year course, right? So grade 10 and grade 11, and now because we believe that they are exposed to familiar terms within the curriculum or phase of study. The event is scheduled to take place on the 5th of September at the University of Namibia main campus. We've extended invitations to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Namibia, Lucia Witbooi, and also to the Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Sanet Steenkamp. We will be having meetings with them to discuss about the statements and the keynote address. We've invited Lucia Witbooi to deliver a keynote, and then the Honorable Minister for a statement. We're still getting to discussing on which areas they have to focus on, right?
Yeah.
So these schools that we've invited, they have to register 5 best learners to participate in the competition. So we'll have about 60 participants,
okay.
yes, to partake in the competition. They will win very good prizes that I won't mention right now. And also, like she said, we'll have cultural performances from our society, and then also we are open to whoever wants to apply to do a cultural performance.
Yeah. Perhaps before I let you go, and while I'm still on you, in your view, what role should government and just policies play in strengthening indigenous languages when it comes to their use and also just recognition?
Okay, so I think with that, what we should aim is we should advocate for supportive language policies and resources that actually values and recognize indigenous languages in our educational, in our social settings. That's what I think. Also, schools also should play a vital role in harmonizing, in anchoring cultural continuity and language heritage. That's what I think. They should advocate for supportive language policies and resources such as textbooks, audiovisual materials, teacher training programs that actually recognize the use and appreciation of indigenous languages like the Khoekhoegowab and any other indigenous language.
Yeah. Just to close off, Robyn, what is your message to the youth this morning about the importance of embracing and also just carrying forward their mother tongues?
As a closing remarks, language is a part of who you are. It's a living part of your heritage. You know, you cannot just cut that piece out and think that you will feel fulfilled in life. At some point, you might feel like you want to have a change in careers, but then because of job market, you might lack. So I think that the youth should look into the languages and the opportunities that the language provides. You know, you can become language activists or like I said before, poets and authors, you know. So think creatively, you know, and use your language to write your own stories. Thank you.
Well, Mauricius, Robyn, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best with the spelling bee. And we love the work that you're doing in preserving the Khoekhoegowab language. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having us. It was quite an honor.
All right. More conversations coming your way, but at 7 o'clock, Lot Ndamanamata brings you the news making headlines. Don't go anywhere.